Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am the guy who picked Jamal Hill to defeat Khalil Rountree. And I'll start by talking about that fight. I'm here to break down UFC on ABC 8, Baku, Azerbaijan. And this was not a great event. This was a shit event. Wasn't the worst card, was specific to the region. The fuck is this? But I thought it was a dog shit event altogether. And the main event was a disappointment because, first of all, on paper, this looked very much like a fight that was destined to end via TKO, considering their wins and a good chunk of their losses, too. But it also was not a competitive fight like it was shaping up to be, looking at the odds, which were pretty tight. But I thought Jamal Hill really was at fault there. He needed to crowd the kicker in Khalil Rountree, and it is Khalil, not Khalil. And Rountree was just able to shine on the outside. He was twice as fast as Jamal Hill and twice as diverse with his striking and chopped him down. And also, I'm not going to act like he didn't get the better of the boxing, so to speak. He knocked him down like fucking 10 times. I know Roundtree was on the all-time list for knockdowns coming into this fight and knockouts. He didn't get another knockout, but he may have broken the record for all I know with knockdowns because he got a good chunk of them. And I'll say Jamal Hill never looked too hurt from a single shot. It wasn't like he got, like he dropped dead. He just dropped like a sack of potatoes and woke up. A lot of it was just him being knocked around. But he was still knocked around. He was flustered from the beginning. He had his legs chopped up. He was doing well defending, switching stances, and getting off his offense just enough to scare Roundtree out of really taking it to him. But he wasn't able to turn the fight around, wasn't able to have a lot of success at all in that fight. And in the end, he just stood tall for 5 rounds, largely at the end of a Khalil Roundtree ass kicking. Roundtree, he was coming off that phenomenal performance against Alex Pereira in a championship fight. Here he gets another main event spot. And even though, again, it was kind of a disappointment on a few different levels, he still looked phenomenal. And it's not like it sucked watching him kick ass. He's an excellent fighter. And I'm glad he won. He did very good and he did very well. And I think he is a top light heavyweight. But I do think on the Jamal Hill end of things, I've overestimated Jamal Hill. I've overestimated him after that win against Glover Teixeira and a few other wins. But it's not just the 3 losses in a row because these are to top 5 fighters or whatever. But in general, he just did not look like the most resourceful fighter or the striker I thought he was. I thought he'd be very much in this fight, but he never crowded Khalil, and I thought he needed to get to work early. And Khalil Roundtree instead got to work early and made it impossible for Jamal Hill to get to work at all. So great win for Roundtree. Kind of a shit loss for Jamal Hill, potentially a pivotal loss, but whatever. At least we get a renewed contender out of the fight. Rafael Fiziev beat Ignacio Bahamondes. I thought this was really close, but not where it could have gone to Bahamondes. I thought Fiziev did enough to secure all 3 rounds, I believe. But it was narrow. Each round was a narrow victory. The whole fight was a narrow fight. But I thought Fiziev was just a half step ahead of Bahamondes. Fiziev, with this movement, was able to evade a lot of Ignacio Bahamondes's longer range but slower attacks. And on the inside and tight, Rafael Fiziev I thought was a little sharper, threw better in combinations as well, and his kicks were twice as sharp. I mean, Bahamondes had a lot of spinning wheel kicks. I think he was going for the spinning wheel kick victory because they both had spinning wheel kicks in the UFC. But he was never able to time that right. And I thought Fiziev was just a cleaner fighter. I thought he won the fight on the feet anyway, but I thought, of course, he secured the decision beyond doubt with takedowns, which was really impressive for a guy like Fiziev hitting those takedowns, and he looked sharp. I know Bob Mundes is a taller, skinnier guy and the rest of it, but Fiziev still got in deep on him, deep on his hips, very athletically, deep into the fight in rounds 2 and 3, I believe, and was able to make the difference there and put his stamp on the fight, and I believe even advanced on him at the end. But altogether, I thought it was a very close fight, and I thought Fiziev was the sharper fighter and deserved to walk away with a victory. And then Curtis Blades beat Rizvan Kuniev by split decision. What do you want from me? I thought this was I can't say a bad decision, but I thought Kuniev won. I did think Curtis was in the realm of winning rounds 1 and 3. But in general, I thought Kuniev got the better of him altogether. Of course, this isn't Pride. It's round by round, and there were no dominant rounds either way. But Rizvan Kuniev definitely hung with Curtis Blades. My estimation of Curtis Blades' wrestling has plummeted. I do think he's still one of the better wrestling heavyweights, but he's not the dominant force I once thought he was. And I thought he was lucky to walk away with a victory here, to be honest. Razor thin fight, so not too much luck, but again, I thought it should have gone the other way. Kuniev is not the most athletic heavyweight. I do think he did well in kind of outlasting Curtis Blades and taking it to him on the feet where he could have knocked him out, but it just wasn't going to be like that round 1 destruction the way Blades has lost typically in the past. Or Derek Lewis got him out in round 2. But yeah, Kuniev still adjusted well, fought a razor thin fight against one of the best heavyweights on paper. And, again, my estimation of Blades has dipped, certainly. But I still think it was a good performance from Kuniev, and I'm not writing him off. He could make waves in the heavyweight division. But here, Curtis Blades gets the victory. He's already done enough in the division where I'd say he's a fight away from the heavyweight title. Tom Aspinall's heavyweight title, despite their history, which they're 1-1. So I guess he's got that going for him. But of course, he's 0-1, and he got knocked out a year ago. But yeah, Blade still marches on. Miktabek Orobai beat Tafik Masayev by Kimura. This was a lot easier than I expected. I knew he could win by submission. I thought it would be later. He just went through Tafik Masayev. He was a little too much, too big, too strong, and too good. We've been seeing, I feel like, the resurgence of the Kimura, maybe. But that was awesome. I love a good Kimura. And he went through him in a round. Tafik Masayev, he's been subbed in the past, like I said in the pre-fight, mostly over a decade ago, but he got subbed by a really good guy a few years ago who pulled guard and got him. And here, this was more of a conventional type of submission loss where Miktabek Orobai took him down and went through him, but he still got it done in a round. Really dominant victory, and my estimation of Orobai, I can't say it's skyrocketed because I always had faith in him, even with his recent loss. But yeah, he's definitely a problem moving forward, and he's only 27 years old. And for Masayev, Masayev is still very dangerous, potently fucking dangerous, and never been knocked out legitimately. He's definitely a guy that can bring exciting fights to the UFC and perhaps make a splash. I think this one set him back big time, and he's 35 years old, but he's still dangerous and he's got value for sure. Nazim Sadikov beat Nicholas Mota by TKO in round 2. These guys got $100,000 each for this fight, which I love how Mota got a performance bonus. He's a guy who gave one hell of a performance, but he lost the fight and got finished. That's very rare. I don't know if that's ever happened where a guy's gotten a performance bonus for a losing fight of the night. But Nicholas Mota got it, and of course, I shouldn't lead talking about Mota. Nazim Sadikov is the guy whose stock jumped the most there. His stock has skyrocketed. He got a nice victory on TV on ABC. I don't know if that's still a big thing, to be honest, but at one point it meant something. No, but he definitely had a nice audience there, and he had a nice live audience with the crowd, and it was his moment. And he got hurt badly in round one. I thought Moda was going to finish him. I thought the body shots really did him in, and when Sadikov kind of collapsed on the ground, I just thought he's not getting up. But he was kind of grabbing for a leg or whatever, and he ended up fighting his way out of that situation, and then immediately turned the fight around. And Mota, who whose chin I have no faith in, to be honest. He did a good job surviving a good ass kicking in that fight up until, of course, he got knocked out. But yeah, he got knocked out again. It doesn't help his profile. The next time you'll hear me express doubt in his chin again. But my estimation of his UFC career has skyrocketed as well. I think he's here to stay. UFC just gave him another 100 grand. I don't think this loss is a big setback at all if it doesn't really haunt his chin physically. But he's still only 30 whatever years old, and he gave one hell of a fight here. And I think Nicholas Mota will march on. And of course, he's still really fucking dangerous. So for a guy that has a lot of strikes against him, this was a big loss for him. But yeah, Sadikov, this is the biggest win on the card. I guess, maybe Rountree's got him beaten. But Nazim Sadikov, who was a big favorite here. I mean, he was a 4-1 favorite. I don't want to make it sound like this was some monstrous hill to climb professionally, but he definitely maximized this, the potential of this spotlight and this situation here. And he may have become a star. If not, he's halfway there. But great fucking victory for Nazim Sadikov. Tough as fuck. Got his ass kicked. Fought through it. And then kicked Nicholas Mota's ass after that. Great win. Greatest fight of the year so far. Fucking amazing. Muhammadjan Naimov beat Bogdan Grad. This was a close enough fight, but I thought Naimov definitely won. I thought he got the better of him. And Brody Armbar, if you're watching this, I did sprinkle Bogdan Grad winning by submission at the end in rounds 2 and 3. It didn't come to fruition, but that was something I made peace with. I thought, not bad at all. Those are some really long odds. But Naimov was a little too much for him. And Naimov, he's bounced back. He's got some good momentum here after that kind of collapse against Felipe Lima. But still, when you look at his UFC record, he's doing very well in the UFC. And this guy is still a problem moving forward. I don't want to say he's going to be the featherweight champion or whatever, but he's definitely a problem. And this was another good 15-minute performance from him. And from Bogdan Grad, I thought he was a little up against it physically and maybe technically, but he still fought well. This guy is tough as fuck. And especially after his last fight over Lucas Alexander, he's here to stay. And this is a setback, but at least he wasn't knocked out. Seo Kun Ko won a decision against Oban Elliott. This fight went the exact opposite of how I thought it was going to go. I thought Oban Elliott would be able to shut down Sang Hyun Ko, even in the clinch. I thought Oban Elliott was just going to be bigger and whatever. And it's tough to know how things are going to go until they're actually in there grappling. But great win for Sung Hyun Ko. He looked really sharp here. Definitely looked like the more well-rounded fighter. And his chin wasn't really put to the test too much, but he certainly passed that test. And yeah, he definitely looked like the bully in there, the welterweight bully. And even though I picked against him, my estimation of him as a fighter has jumped. And I think this guy can make some waves at welterweight. And for Oban Elliott, coming off that big knockout win over Basel Hafez and some other solid wins in the UFC, he's not going anywhere. but this one definitely was him being exposed. His other two losses, he was crowded and TKO'd on the ground late in the fight against good fighters. So it's good that he didn't get overwhelmed here, but he was outmatched. Just had no answer for the grappling, the judo of Ko, and yeah, he was thoroughly dominated. And Junyoung Park beat Ismail Nardiev by decision. I thought Park definitely won this fight anyway without the 2 points, but with the 2 points, it was lopsided. Nardiev, I thought, was really sharp in round one, but he wasn't able to maintain it. Of course, there was a good 10-minute fucking break in the middle and a lot of horse shit there, but Park was hurt. And credit to Park for fighting on. I was thinking, all right, he's out of here. I was really thinking they should just call it in the middle of all that, but he chose to keep fighting, and he showed what would have happened in rounds 2 and 3 by crowding, taking down, and dominating Ismail Nardiev. Park took over the fight and showed he didn't need 2 points to win. And by the way, the 2 points was really interesting. They said during the broadcast that we hadn't seen 2 points deducted since Jones versus Anthony Smith. Oh, if Anthony Smith had no integrity. But he definitely, committed a big foul there against Junyoung Park, and Park was obviously hurt. So, yeah, fair enough. And also, he was, whatever. There were multiple infractions there. But yeah, Park showed he was a better fighter than Nardiev under every circumstance and walked away with a great victory. Daria Zheleznyakova beat Melissa Mullins by decision. I thought this was a fair decision. And this is one where my primary bet was on the under. I did think Mullins was going to win, but I also had doubt in her durability, especially to the body. And I thought Daria Zheleznyakova hits really hard. Even Mullins said in an interview last week that Daria hit her harder than anybody. And I have to say, my estimation of both fighters has dipped after that fight. I think Melissa Mullins just got a little too complacent on the feet. She should have been hunting for takedowns, attempting more at the very least. I don't know what the game plan was there, but she knew she was way better than Daria on the ground, and she did not take it there. I mean, she did at the end of round one after she hurt her, but and she mounted her and advanced on her and almost went for something or whatever. But she didn't really make the most of that, her grappling advantage, didn't even attempt to. And on the feet, Daria Zheleznyakova, if I was her coach, and I know this sounds like this is something that's easy to say afterwards, but I promise you I would have said it beforehand. Hey, go after her body. I mean, she almost steamrolled her with headshots in the first minute. Don't get me wrong, she could definitely make good work of her face. But seeing Melissa Mullins get TKO'd to the body, I just think sometimes there's just a weakness there. And here you'll be hearing me say that moving forward because Daria, I believe, jabbed her in the body and knocked her down in this fight and almost took her out. So, yeah, Melissa Mullins could have that body weakness like Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, maybe, Matt Brown in the past. It's a thing. But yeah, Daria, she still won the fight. I thought she walked away with a good decision victory and got revenge over Melissa Mullins. But yeah, especially after hitting her in the body, I thought she should have been all over that body, using her range to hunt an easier target. But yeah, still a good win from her. She gets of revenge over Melissa Mullins, no mess Dixon. Claudia Seguya beat Arena Alexieva. Arena Alexieva, my estimation of her has fucking plummeted here. She's a girl who I have no faith in to go after somebody on the ground. Arena Alexieva, her nickname is the Russian Ronda, even though if you ask me, it should be the Russian Cyborg. But she still on the feet, being Cyborg wasn't enough. She was too limited. Claudia was much faster than her, threw much sharper combinations, and on the ground, Claudia ended up mauling her down the stretch. Arena Alexieva did get hurt with a weird back fist and whatever, but yeah, she just was largely dominated in this fight. I thought there were moments where it looked like she could have been battling her way back in round two, but I think that's where the spinning back fist took place. Either way, she was largely dominated on paper here, and down the stretch, almost finished and had the fight beaten out of her. And that's where she was on the ground, and it was a little too late for her to go after knee bars and whatever else. But great win for Seguya. She's a girl who I did not think would stick around, and here she is. She's 1-1, and she looked great in victory here. Tagir Ulanbekov beat Azat Maksum. This was a really close fight. I thought it was like every round was really close. I thought Tagir won, but the commentators had me thinking it might have been 30-25 Maksum. No, they weren't that bad, but early on, I thought they were a little bad, maybe. But either way, really close fight. Azat Maksum showed he could wrestle, defend takedowns, and strike really well for 15 minutes with one of the most underrated guys in the division, a very talented fighter in Ulanbekov, who's going to be fighting Horiguchi or whatever. So yeah, great performance from Azat Maksum, but I did think Tagir Ulanbekov generally outlasted him and outworked him and narrowly won this fight. And I'm glad he got the decision victory because it's not like it would have been a robbery the other way. But I thought he's a guy who may have been burnt in the past, and he's definitely a viable contender. And I'm glad he doesn't slow down here. Maksum, this does slow down his contendership, but he's still a guy who's got my respect despite the losses in the UFC, and I think he's here to stay. I think he gets a dip in competition in his next fight and goes through. Muhammad Usman beat Hamdi Abdelwahab in the opening fight. This fight went about how I expected. Hamdi wasn't able to get a takedown. Might have had a few attempts, but Usman generally shut him down. And on the feet, I thought Hamdi Abdelwahab was leading the dance in the first half of the fight, and then Usman took over in the second half of the fight. Usman, I thought, won round two and won round three just by giving him more activity, having a little more energy, and of course, landing the better shots. I think a lot of lead right hands for Usman. But yeah, Hamdi looked tough, and he showed he can fight 15 minutes in defeat for the first time, even though it could have happened in the past. But yeah, he's definitely a limited heavyweight. I thought it was only a matter of time until he was handed that first loss, and it happened here against Muhammad Usman. Who, by the way, can we stop doing this like leaning down before the fight? You know what I'm talking about, where they kneel down and do this like predator thing. It's like, John Jones does it. Rashad Evans, who I think is Muhammad Usman's trainer. So it could be an homage when he does it. But there's a bunch of guys that do it. And I'm desperately racing in my head to find a white guy who does it. It might just be black guys. I don't know. Maybe this is racist. You might have me there. There's certainly a racial component to it. But either way, I don't like that kneeling down, and yeah, it makes you look like some pretentious guy who's desperate to be called cerebral. Oh, he's cerebral. It's like a golfer looking at a green, looking at the bumps and ridges and whatever they call them on the green, and trying to plot his shot. And it just makes you look like you're trying to be called cerebral. I had to lay down a lot of bullshit at the end there to get away from the racism angle that I was on a minute ago. But yeah, anyway, great performance from Muhammad Usman. And if you're still with me, even you black folks out there, like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit, and check out my other videos.
Think white and get serious.